And now we're going to have the scripture reading, and it comes from one of the four Gospels, the Gospel of Mark, chapter 10, verses 35 to 39. And the Word of God says, "Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. 'Teacher,' they said, 'we want you to do for us whatever we ask.' 'What do you want me to do for you?' he asked. They replied, 'Let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory.' 'You don't know what you are asking,' Jesus said. 'Can you drink the cup I drink, or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with?' 'We can,' they answered. Jesus said to them, 'You will drink the cup I drink, and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with.'" May God bless the reading of His Word.
Who here is aware that one of the most popular sporting events in the world is going on right now? You aware of this? Right? The World Cup. Now, who has watched the game? Who's watched? Wonderful! Oh, that's great. See, I am so out of it. I didn't even realize it was going on until just a couple of days ago. It's been going on for 2 weeks. They've already gone down from 32 nations that got into the World Cup. You know, all these nations, 32 get to be in the World Cup. They're already down. This weekend they started the 16, the final 16. And boy, this is, people are so excited about this. It's not what I am necessarily get excited about, but it's like some things I do like the Olympics is also something where nations kind of go against nation. And what a positive thing this is. Well, how lucky we are to live in an age where we have sports, and we can use sports, soccer or the Olympics or whatever sports we're interested in order to kind of feel like we are number one at something. Because this is something we all want. We all want to feel, we all want to rank ourselves first. That's sort of a part of what we do, is try to understand where we stand in ranking with other people. And in some things, we want to know that we're good at it. We want to know that we are appreciated for what we do, and that our contribution to this world, or our contribution to our families, our contribution to our friendships, is appreciated. That there are some things that only we bring, only we give in our little circle, and we want to be appreciated for those things. We want to be number one. We don't have to be number one at everything, but there's some things we definitely want to know that we're good at. We want other people to know that too, and other people to appreciate us, appreciate what we bring to the table. Well, there's a great story that Ellen just read from, actually it's in all of the Gospels, is this story about James and John, and them wanting to be considered the greatest among all the disciples. And they came to Jesus, and they asked this, they wanted this. They wanted to be number one and number two on his right and left hand. That's what they brought to Jesus, and that's what they asked him for. And again, this is something we can understand, because there are things, again, we don't need to be not in every way. We don't have to be number one all the time, or I sure hope we don't have to be, but there are some things that we too want to be appreciated for. We want people to understand what we bring and appreciate what we bring to the table, and maybe see what we do as being important. So we can understand James and John's desire to be number one. Being number one is a desire that we have in our lives. But we also see here that there can be some dangers to it, don't we? There can be some bad things about this desire to always know and always be thinking where we rank in relation to other people, and making sure that we are appreciated by other people, that other people, not only we know what we're bringing, but that other people tell us what we're bringing. That's really what James and John wanted. They wanted others to validate them. They want Jesus to validate who they were and what they brought. And so we can see a couple of problems with this, and right away we see it here in this story that James and John come to Jesus, and they ask him for that. They're asking about themselves. They want to be number one and number two. They want to know where they stand amongst all the disciples. But if we read back, if we read right what Jesus was saying right before this happened, it's very interesting, because what Jesus said right before James and John came up to him and asked if they could be number one and number two, was Jesus was telling about his death. He was predicting, he was saying, we're going to Jerusalem. And the chief priests and the teachers of the law, they're going to treat me terribly. They're going to hand me over to the Gentiles. And the Gentiles are going to spit on me. And they are going to torture me. And they are going to scourge me. And they are going to kill me. And that is what Jesus said. And the very next thing, James and John came up and said, yeah, but what about us? Where do we stand in all this? You think, wow, what a failing that was. What a danger it is when you are thinking about where you stand in relation to other people. Are you being regarded high enough that there is this tendency to not look at the needs of other people? I mean, what did Jesus need in that moment? He needed some compassion. He needed love. He needed support. And here come James and John looking out for themselves. It's something we need to think about as we go through the world, as we try to sort of compete with others. As we try to figure out where our place is in our group, in our family. We need to make sure that our concern for ourselves isn't blinding us to the needs of other people, because I'll tell you, and this is the ironic thing, we can get so concerned with where we stand in the group and whether we're regarded high enough that we end up alienating everyone else in the group. And that's what happened to James and John. The other disciples were so mad at them. We didn't read this. If you keep reading, you find out that the other disciples got upset that these two guys were just looking out for themselves. And actually, I think they were mostly mad that the James and John had asked the very thing that they wish they had had the courage to ask, or had the nerve to ask, is to be number one, number two. And so we got to be careful, right? When it comes to this desire to be number one, this desire to be the greatest, this desire to be appreciated for what we bring to the table, we have to be careful, because it can blind us to the needs of others, and it can also keep us from doing what we need to do in this world, right? We need to be looking after other people we need to be looking after. So that's something we need to keep in mind, but we need to recognize too that this desire to be number one, this desire to be great, that there's something very good about that. There's something very holy about this desire to be high up. And to see ourselves in that way, to see ourselves as people of value, to see ourselves as someone who, yes, I do have something to bring to the table. I do have something that's important to say. And we see this in Jesus' life and how he treated people, how he regarded them. Jesus comes, it's really great to see. It's not said enough, but when Jesus goes around and he meets new people and he talks to them, one of the things he most frequently does is to compliment people. He does this over and over again. Jesus compliments people on their gifts, on the way that they bless others. He compliments people on their faith, on their forgiveness, on their perseverance. All of these ways, Jesus brings these compliments into people's lives. He has a way of looking at people and seeing what's best there, seeing what gifts they have to bring, and then complimenting them for that, and raising this bar really high of how they should use these gifts and how they should act in the world. And you know what? When it came to Jesus, Jesus would set that bar high. He would compliment them, compliment these people, and the people would rise up to the level of Jesus' compliments. They would rise up to that level. That's something we need to remember. If we're going to go, as we go through this world, as we encounter other people, we need to understand that power of how we regard other people, about how we communicate with them, what they're bringing to the table. I tell you, if we bring good things to them, if we describe to them how we see them being blessings to this world, then they're just going to grow in those blessings. They're going to get greater and greater in helping and sharing and doing these things that make a true difference to this world. And we have that power. And we also have the power to knock people down. And that's our choice. And which is it going to be for us? Are we going to be like Christ, looking around and seeing the people in this world that are doing good things and bringing blessings, and we are going to encourage that. We are going to compliment these people. We are going to point out that we saw what they did. I saw how you were a blessing to someone else, and I want you to know I appreciate that. And in doing that, that blessing is just going to grow and grow. We have that chance if we choose to take it. we have the chance to be able to be a greater blessing to this world by being a blessing to others, and by naming it, by telling people what they are doing that is such a blessing. But you know what Jesus does in this particular case? In general, Jesus will tell people, yeah, you're right on the right track, you're doing good. But in this case, when James and John come and they say, Jesus, we really want to be number one and number two, Jesus doesn't really compliment them. He doesn't say, man, your ambition is great. Yeah, keep up with that ambition. That's a good thing. No, he actually says, and I think he says it to James and John, but he says it to all of us. He says, you know what? You are my followers. You are Christian people. You are right to want to be the best. You are right to want to be great. You are my followers. You should be great. Just be sure, Jesus said, that what you're reaching for is real greatness. Be sure that what you're reaching for is real greatness. Because you see, we have this choice. We can, and this first choice is much easier actually. We can choose to simply appear to be great. And there is a difference between appearing to be great and being great. But you know what? Being great takes some work. Appearing to be great is pretty easy. It's pretty easy. It doesn't take a lot of work to appear to be great. Maybe you need to have some smarts, but it doesn't take a lot of work. But to be great, you have to live great. You have to speak great. You have to care great. You have to have great compassion. All of these things. And so, yes, Jesus is saying, you want to be number one, God bless you. You should be number one. You want to be the number one. You want to be the number one musician that's around. You want to be the number one friend. You want to be the number one worker. Man, pick things that are worth it. Worth being number one. And do those to the best of your ability. And yeah, that's what Jesus is saying. We don't want to be caught up on just pretending to be great. We want to actually be great. And so that's something that we can think about as we move ahead into this week, into this month, into this rest of our summer and the rest of our lives. What are we going to choose to be great at? It's something like, maybe we should just have a good competition between us. Who can be the greatest here at forgiving? Who can be the greatest at loving one another? Who can be the greatest at showing compassion for those in need? Who can be the greatest at serving? All of these things can make us truly great. And when we compete in that way, we all win. We do need to remember what Jesus did say. He said, for the one who would be the greatest among you is the one who will be servant to all. That's the kind of greatness we should all reach for. Let us bow in prayer. Loving God, we do give thanks that you challenge us, that you give us opportunities to be our best, to work hard. Loving God, help us to see these places in our lives where we are a blessing to other people, and help us to grow in these places. Help us to get stronger and to get better and bring blessings to others. Help us to encourage those around us. Help us to open our eyes to the way other people are being a blessing to this world. And help us to encourage that and recognize it and lift it up. And loving God, help us to see ways that we can truly serve other people. And ways we can be great at doing the things that you have taught us are the most important. Loving God, we know that as we prepare to come to this table, we're given the opportunity to be nourished, to be inspired, to be ready for this week ahead. Lord, help us to feel that as we prepare now to receive this bread and cup. Help us to feel the nourishment of it, the spiritual nourishment and the strength that can come from it and the direction. Lord, help us to feel all of this now as we prepare to come to your table. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.